Good afternoon, everybody.
Back tomorrow.
Thank you for joining us for the Tuesday, July 1st, 2025 Public Works section. Director Russell.
Yes. Good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us. Our first item is an honorary street name request, and it is going to be presented by one of our new staff members, Ms. Megan Gribble, who is our manager of transportation planning. I'm going to read the description while Ms. Gribble comes to the podium. So we have a request by Ms. Stith, request an honorary street name designation for a portion of Portsmouth Boulevard between Frederick Boulevard and Deep Creek Boulevard as Horace Savage Jr. Way in recognition of Horace Savage Jr. The property is public right-of-way owned by the City of Portsmouth, and the future land use map of the Bill 1 Portsmouth Comprehensive Plan designates this property for transportation uses.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Megan Gribble. I am the Manager of Transportation Planning and the Staff Coordinator responsible for processing honorary street name designation applications. The application before you today is a request for an honorary street name designation to designate a portion of Portsmouth Boulevard as Horace Savage Jr. Way in recognition of Mr. Savage's contributions to the neighborhood of Truxton in the City of Portsmouth. The subject portion of Portsmouth Boulevard is a 40-foot public right-of-way owned by the City of Portsmouth that extends approximately 315 feet from Frederick Boulevard to Deep Creek Boulevard and serves 6 single-family residences, 3 duplex residences, 1 multi-unit residence, 2 city-owned parcels, and 3 commercial properties. The surrounding area consists of residential, industrial, public, and commercial uses. The residences zoned historic residential and commercial properties zoned historic limited business are located north of the applicant site. Residences zoned urban residential and commercial properties zoned light industrial are located south of the applicant site. Commercial properties zoned light industrial and industrial are located east of the applicant site, and residences zoned general residential and urban residential are located west of the applicant site. The proposed designation complies with the honorary street name designation policy guidelines and is consistent with past street name change requests of a similar nature. The honorary designation will not cause hardship for residents as it will not change the official name of the street or the addresses of residences or businesses. The proposed designation to date, no public comments have been received in regard to this application. The applicant submitted the required property owner petition with the signatures of a majority of the adjacent property owners, acknowledging that they are aware of the request and indicating that they do not object to the proposal. This concludes my presentation. Stand by for any questions.
Commissioners, any questions?
Good afternoon. So the only question I have for honorary street name designation is if we conduct background checks on applicants. Okay. Is it possible to recommend an addendum to RTAC 24 TAC 19 Exhibit A to include that? And I only mention that because we're getting more frequent applications in this, and the last two applications have been more religious personnel, so we may have forgotten about a background check, but I don't think the City of Portsmouth wants to be affiliated with, someone that has a criminal background, even though they have done much for the city, possibly when going about this. So just having a background check on the people who apply would be great.
My only question and concern about that is we don't give them out strictly because they're religious individuals or because it's more based on what they've done and what they've contributed to the city. So I don't know if the background check necessarily gives us anything extra beyond their contributions, because even someone who may have had a criminal past still may have contributed to the city in great ways that we choose to honor them. Their past doesn't speak to their present. So I wonder if that's extra cost, extra bureaucracy that it has to go through in order to those. I personally way more to the narrative and the activities they've done than what may come on that. I mean, that of course comes into play if they are known criminals and stuff, but typically those that I've seen us look at and lean towards would not be anyone that comes to that level.
Correct. So when I meant religious affiliation, I meant that we may have had a bias to pureness, not because they're religious that we accept the application in that matter. And then for past crimes, it doesn't define them. Well, certain past crimes, right? If someone has a sexual assault case, does the city of Portsmouth want to be affiliated with that? Even though that person's done great work, we've seen that in the past, right? So we need to have that full background and let the council decide on that matter if that's the way they want to go with. Because if in the future we find out that a applicant has hidden their past and it comes out and they have a street name, you can guarantee that people are going to be coming to the city of Portsmouth and confronting the city like, hey, this needs to be taken down. So we just want to avoid that matter. But I think putting that in there, while it may have additional costs, I think it's helpful. You just want to protect yourself in that matter.
I think related to that, a recommendation I would make is if we see if that's a common practice amongst any other. We're newer to the honorary street naming. I would love to see if that's a best practice taken by any other planning departments.
Is there a
agree with that.
cost associated with applying for that?
I believe there is for background.
Background.
Well, not the
No.
just some of the honorary name.
There is a $350 application fee, which goes towards the cost of publishing the legal ad for.
Okay. There's no reason, a background check is like $20.
Right, yeah.
But most people, there's no reason we couldn't roll that into that. So I'm just saying, if that's a direction that we wanted to go, it's not some tremendous financial burden.
And that's a good idea about looking at. And that's a good idea about looking at other localities and seeing what they're doing. But we just also have to remember that other localities may have never thought of this as well. And as you see today, people have having problems with street names, statues, and whatnot. So I'm just saying, we have to be careful here. But that's all I have.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you.
Yes.
Okay. The next item is a use permit request, use permit number 2501. Ms. Patrice Branch is the staff coordinator for this request, and it is an application by Coastal Virginia Developers, a use permit for the development of 17 townhouse units on approximately 1.7 acres located at 1200 Hodges Ferry Road in the urban residential zoning district. The future land use map of the Build 1 Portsmouth Comprehensive Plan designates this property for institutional and public uses.
All right, good afternoon, Planning Commissioners. My name is Patrice Branch, and I'm a planner with the City of Portsmouth. The next application before you today is a request for a use permit for the development of 17 townhomes on approximately 1.68 acres of a larger 6.57 acre parcel located at 1200 Hodges Ferry Road. The subject property is located within the Mayflower Park neighborhood and is zoned urban residential. The property is currently owned and occupied by a religious institution and its associated accessory buildings. The surrounding area consists of primary residential and commercial uses. The subject property is bordered to the north by commercial uses zoned multifamily, urban residential, light industrial, and general mixed use. To the south and to the west, the property is adjoined by single-family dwellings zoned urban residential. To the east, across Hodges Ferry Road, is a mix of single-family, multifamily, commercial, and public uses zoned multifamily urban residential, and neighborhood mixed use. The applicant is proposing to subdivide the southern 1.68 acres of the parcel into 19 individual lots, which will include 17 townhomes and 2 open space parcels. The remainder of the parcel will continue to be utilized as the religious institutional use. Access to the church will continue via the northern portion of the Hodges Ferry Road and the existing private drive aisle located along Logan Drive, which you can see here. The proposed development is an infill-style residential community designed with townhomes arranged in 3 clusters, 7 units along Hodges Ferry Road. On Logan Drive, there'll be 6 units that will be centrally located and 4 units located to the southeast. Each unit will be approximately 20 feet in width and 54 feet in depth and will feature a rear-loading double-car driveway to accommodate the 2 off-street vehicle parking spaces required for townhouse dwellings. Access to the site will be provided via 2 20-foot wide shared private driveway/roads located along Logan Drive. Maintenance of the open space, the driveways/roads, stormwater features or facilities, and easements will be the responsibility of the Community Private Homeowner Association. The architectural designs of the townhomes will be developed following the approval of the use permit, and to ensure quality in materials and architectural appearance, staff has included conditions related to the design standards for the development. The future land use map of the Built 1 Portsmouth Comprehensive Plan designates this property as institutional public. Staff recommends this approval of this application with the recommended conditions. The proposed use is consistent with the recommendations and the goals of the city's Built 1 Portsmouth Comprehensive Plan and the Portsmouth Citywide Strategic Housing Plan. The use is appropriate at this location and demonstrates an innovative solution to address housing shortage and support infill development while maintaining the church institutional presence in the community. The development will serve as a compatible infill and provide a transitional between the multifamily and commercial uses to the north and northeast, and detached single-family homes to the south and southwest. The request also aligns with the city's goal to prioritize the development of new market rate and workforce housing to meet the increasing demands. The development will add an additional 17 single-family homes to the existing 425 that are currently under development. The Planning Department has received public comments, which were either included in the staff report packet or were provided to you as your work session materials. The applicant has also provided a fiscal impact, which is presented to you as part of your work session materials. This concludes my presentation, and I'll stand by for any questions.
Thank you. Commissioners, any questions?
Chairman, I have a lot of questions, so thanks for your patience. So in our guide, it says townhomes will provide transition and scale and use from a more intense activity core of a center to adjacent single-family neighborhoods. Can you explain what that means?
So we have, let's get to a better image. You have multifamily up here, and then you have single family. So you'll have the townhomes, which are single family attached.
Okay. Thank you for that. And then, have you received any architectural rendering for what this layout would look like?
We have not. The applicant has expressed that they will hire a builder and they will submit the architectural elevations.
Okay, I highly recommend that, especially for the council meeting if it gets up there. It's due to the fact that a lot of our council members like to see that, and it answers their questions. I know we had a past applicant who wanted to build apartments, and they asked for one, especially if they're a builder who has a previous background. And also, engineer department made comments asking them to please describe how visitor parking will be accommodated on this site. How will mail be handled? If there's a game mailbox, please show where the location. How will trash collection be provided? Do we have any?
So in your staff report packet, if you go further down, there is a letter response that the applicant provided answers to those questions.
Okay, perfect. And then I noticed a lot of members in the neighborhood, they had concerns about traffic. Did engineer say anything about that?
We did not get comments regarding the traffic. The applicant did provide a trip generator, which was included within the staff report packet. That gives an estimated number of cars that will frequent that road, additional cars added.
I want to ask, is it possible, if we do have quorum in our commission meeting, to have a engineer who's read this packet to come up and just basically explain how the concerns from the citizens can be resolved, because this seems to be a big problem here, and I do share those concerns with them about the traffic there, especially if you can't make a left-hand turn, and then if you have church traffic coming in and then speed. Like we probably need to compromise with the citizens there and figure out a solution to help them out with that matter. That's all I have for that. And then I like this fiscal impact highlights. Was this made by staff or
That was by the applicant.
Okay. Is it possible also when we do have new building or additions to have something like this provided? Is it,
Have that be required.
Yep, yes, please. Because it shows the city revenue generated, and we always ask that question during our meeting, like, oh, how much? And we typically don't have the right answer, like the answer on the spot. But just knowing this and then having council know this, we can avoid that question altogether. And then, do we know how much? I see there's going to be an HOA. Do we know how much HOA is going to be?
I would defer to the applicant.
Okay, and my only concern is that HOA tends to be high in this area, and I just wanted to know from the city's perspective why HOAs in this area are typically high compared to other localities. Is that because it reduces costs?
It's up to the HOA.
And I only ask that because I only bring this up because, and I'm just thinking long term here. When HOA are high, which it is in this area, compared to like Northern Virginia, where it's more money, right? They have the HOA is like $50, $100, but the places are still maintained really well. We have 33% of our population over the age of 50, right? So most of them, of the ones at 50, are close to retirement. As HOAs increase, because I know my HOA has increased, when those people retire, if they don't have a pension or whatnot, eventually, and they have a paid-off home, eventually that HOA is going to get up to the amount, and I'm just predicting, right, 20 years out, right, 10, 20 years, it's going to get up to the amount where it's basically the cost of the home, inflation adjusted, when they purchase it. So then these members won't be able to eventually live there and will have to sell their home. So I'm just looking at it from a long-term perspective, especially when Portsmouth has an older demographic, and when 40% that was quoted from council, 40% are veterans, not all of them retired veterans, but the veteran period. We just need to ensure that, hey, we're looking at that in the future and how we can offset that. Because if, I know when builders first build here, they're in charge. Sometimes they're in charge of the HOA.
But the HOA board sets their bylaws and has the right
Correct.
to adjust those. So
Correct.
that's really not on the city. That's more on those
Correct.
those
But
members of the HOA.
I do know builders, sometimes when they finish building, they're in charge of the HOA until the neighborhood is able to create that board. So sometimes they use that process to recoup their charges so that they can maintain affordable housing, right? So we just need to look at that in the future and say, okay, HOAs may be getting out of hand here. How can we, the city, ensure that that does not happen? And that's all I have to mention there. I'm just saying, just look at it, because if eventually, you know, we don't want our houses to be so expensive here that it can't be affordable anymore because the HOAs are high. And I think that's all I have. Thank you.
Commissioner Glover, did you have a question as well? Okay.
Okay, the next item is a proposed zoning text amendment. It's citywide, 2501, and it is a proposal to amend and reenact City Code Chapter 40.2, or zoning ordinance, Sections 40.2-27, use-specific standards, and 40-2 .2-533 for use permits, and Division 5 of Article 5, enforcement for the purposes of modifying the regulations applicable to event space, banquet halls, entertainment establishments, and similar uses, and the enforcement authority of the zoning administrator. Planning commissioners, you will recall not that good. I don't have my notes. Let me see. Grab my notes. I need you to distribute those for me, mister. Planning commissioners, you will recall that we did a work session at your June meeting regarding proposed amendments to our ordinance for the regulation of entertainment venues and event spaces. Since that time, we have continued to modify the language, particularly after gathering feedback from our city council about the draft that you were originally presented. And so just real quickly, I want to go through the information that was shared to you in June in summary, and then share with you the language that has been updated even since you received your advanced package for this meeting. Okay, so the purpose of the amendment, in short, is to provide more structure, more regulations for the land use administration of these types of uses. We are specifically looking to define and more stringently regulate civic and social clubs, as well as our entertainment and our event venues, to strengthen those requirements so that they don't become nuisances to adjacent property owners, as well as provide support for the revocation of permits in the event that a proposed user or operator is non-compliant. These are the sections of the ordinance that are changed. They're consistent with our public hearing advertisements. Specifically for our civic and social clubs, we're requiring that a civic or social club not operate in the same space as a property that is also permitted for an entertainment establishment or an event venue. We're also requiring a 7-day waiting period for membership. And so, for example, if there is a function at a social club that only members are permitted, what that does is preclude someone that wants to be a patron at that facility from joining on the spot and then being able to patronize the facility. And then with respect to the number of people that are at a venue at a specific time, the ordinance language includes a ratio requirement. So essentially you'd have no more persons visiting or frequenting the facility than there are members of the facility. Our entertainment establishments, operational limits, we are suggesting a time frame limit of midnight across the board. In our supplemental use standards, however, operators at the time of application can make a request that the supplemental standards be amended to allow a longer time frame for operation so that they stay later. That, however, would factor into the evaluation and the recommendation that is made for staff, given the site, given the adjacent uses, and potential off-site impacts. We're requiring soundproofing and security cameras, a security plan, and that the lessee could not then subsequently lease that property to another party. Let me stop and say that the supplemental standards that we're recommending are consistent with the conditions that staff has consistently recommended in support of the use permit applications that you have considered in the recent history. Our event space, banquet halls, recommending those same standards for entertainment uses. It includes the sound, security, as well as the occupancy limits, and then the enforcement aligns with those for our entertainment uses. Our new new language includes a revocation requirement, not a revocation provision. So the zoning administrator for operators who operate in a manner that's inconsistent with the ordinance, consistently inconsistent, the zoning administrator can move forward with revoking their zoning permit application, and there's some consequences associated with that relative to the ability of the venue to continue to operate moving forward. And so staff is recommending approval of all of those provisions. So let me share with you, there are 3 areas that came out of our discussion or presentation with City Council. The council has asked that we provide more stringent language to address off-site parking, restaurant operators, and so let me talk about them one at a time. So with respect to off-site parking, we are including a supplemental standard that requires that the venue, in the event that they foresee that they will need off-site parking, to have a formal agreement with adjacent private private entities for parking no more than 800 feet from the venue, and they would be providing shuttle service. This would be an evaluation of the application as part of your use permit process, and in all instances, it wouldn't necessarily be appropriate. And so, for example, if you have a potential operator that envisions that they're going to need off-site parking and shuttle service, but they are surrounded on 2, maybe 3 sides by residential uses, that probably is not the appropriate site for either an entertainment venue or an event space venue that would demand that much parking, because it's going to speak to the capacity, not only capacity, but the number of users that would be frequenting that site. Restaurants, and I will tell you, I'll be very transparent, we're not sure that the proposed language, particularly the hours of operation, does not need to be tweaked further. So what we're proposing to address the concern raised by our council members that there are restaurants that morph into more club-like environments in the evening hours, and that as we tighten the use permit restrictions for the entertainment venues and the event space venues, then there might be some plausibility that our restaurants will experience some challenges as well. And so the language says that restaurants operating after 12 midnight shall submit a security plan to the zoning administrator at the time of the permit application. They're also required to install the surveillance cameras. We are proposing to restrict outdoor sound after 10. And that they have adequate lighting for their entrances and exits. So so it's at 12 o'clock. I'm not sure that 12 o'clock time frame is right. If the restaurant hosts entertainment activities, then it needs to be regulated in the exact same fashion as our entertainment establishments. And as we presented last month, if you have a venue that has a frequency of police calls and violent incidents, then their zoning permit could be revoked. I'm going to surprise Mr. Miller and Mr. Boone actually stayed downstairs because I haven't shared this with them, but my thoughts are that restaurants operating after 12 a.m., that maybe we should have a caveat there for that excludes drive-throughs. Because the way it's currently drafted, that's our fast food establishments, right? And those aren't the ones I don't believe that we have some concerns about. All right. Our council also asked that we include some provision that made the owner and the operator jointly responsible for compliance with the provisions of this ordinance. This is the language that we are proposing. So the Code of Virginia for zoning code enforcement requires that we enforce with the property owner, right? And so when we send a notice of violation, and if we litigate an ordinance violation, it is against the property owner. But our experience, and this is the council's observation that's accurate, but I think that from staff's perspective, it just went, I can speak to myself, went over my head, the owners typically are not involved in the presentations and the requests that are made before the commission and council members for these types of uses. And on a day-to-day basis, they probably are not aware of the nuances of the operations. And so we are making it prescriptively known in the draft language that both parties are culpable for non-compliance issues. So those are the three items that have changed since your advance package, since we presented this to you in June. We believe that the intent of this reduces neighborhood disturbances. It strengthens the accountability for the operator of the venues, and it improves the community quality, particularly as it relates to potential off-site impacts for these types of uses. We are hopeful that these changes will allow the cases that have been deferred to move forward. And as you consider future requests for entertainment establishment and event venues, that these standards will improve our review and consistency of the conditions that are tied to them. And so with that, I'm happy to answer any questions from commissioners.
First, let me say thank you to yourself and the staff for the work on this, for progressing this down, especially as it's been addressed as a definite need. First question I have, and full disclosure, I serve as the state director for Phi Beta Sigma fraternity and president of the nonprofit here locally. As we state in the section on civic, social, and fraternal clubs, that's only for facilities they're using, I'm thinking like for those functions. Those groups could also apply as a entertainment venue or one of those others, but as the business owner, correct? Like that's only for a facility that they're using strictly for those fraternal functions.
I think I understand your question, but when you're speaking, I saw my language. Can you pass those right there? Pass those down. That's the revised language.
Oh, I passed it out already.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah,
good.
we are
Thank you so much.
director.
Appreciate you. So I think what you're saying is that if a venue that a fraternal social club owns a property, and you
Yes.
host functions at that property,
Want to be rented out to other organizations, groups, and stuff like that. So not necessarily functioning as a fraternity house, quote unquote, but more as a what are we calling them?
an event space.
An event space, yes.
I'm going to defer to Mr. Miller on that one.
So to follow up, so your concern is a fraternity owns a venue and they lease it to outside.
Yeah.
Okay. And right now, because they're a private club or private fraternity, they don't have to get an event space.
Well, right now, the one in my mind doesn't own one, and they're exploring purchasing a few properties.
Okay.
Or would they just need to form an LLC separately? I'm just trying to think and also thinking from a legal standpoint on the fraternity side, how does the liability happen, and what does that building function as at that point?
Yeah, I think, I'm not sure they could legally rent out the space that they own for other events that aren't affiliated with the fraternity itself. I think you would be an event space in that situation. You'd need a use permit
Okay.
to do that.
So are you thinking along the lines of something like the Ambassador Club?
Yes. But owned, yeah.
Kind of draw you a picture. So
Yeah,
I think
just like the
everybody can
Ambassador
relate
Club.
to that. The Ambassador Club is a social organization that owns a building but rents out that space for wedding receptions, birthday parties.
But can they, according to this?
Well, I think right now they need an event space permit.
Because you have most Masonic lodges who do the same thing. Like you had the Shriners, the Masonic lodge that was on Cedar Road that was brought up by our church, who currently owns that now, and who are now continuing to rent it out as if the Masonic lodge was renting out. Because matter of fact, I was renting out to have church service there, and they were renting out also to have events, wedding receptions, and parties.
We did parties there.
Yeah, there. And so now church owns it, and they're continuing doing the same thing, renting out parties and everything else, and wedding receptions. So are we saying they got to have a separate event license if that is, you know?
I think what we're saying is that they could not use the same space
Multi-purpose.
for both.
Say that again?
They could not use that same space for social and either an event space or entertainment establishment.
On the
But that's
Masonic-
okay.
yeah.
We're
That's what this
we
is
are
draft.
looking at the language
I'm very confused.
so that we can
'cause
tweak it
that's
so
a-
that it works.
That's going
to put out,
Yeah.
that's going to cause
Those
that
that are in the Scottish
Go
Rite
underground.
in and out
It happens a lot.
after, Yeah.
It happens a lot at Masonic
Yeah.
lodges. They often rent out for third-party events.
And I mean, that's how the Ambassador Club raises a ton of money.
Well, the current language in the, for private clubs would apply only to private clubs that are a private club within the definition of the ABC laws that sell alcohol to members and guests.
I think many of these don't sell.
No, they don't.
They
They don't.
require the renters
To get that one-day
their-
liquor license, yeah.
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 We just want to make sure that the labels raggers. I want to be having people coming and start boycott.
So what that does is it identifies it's an area we need to work on some more, and we will. Are there others?
No others? Okay.
That's good.
Great
That's
work.
good.
That's on one.
Like the joint language.
Yeah.
Holds the applicant accountable by the city and the property owner if separate. So it's good language.
Great.
All right, Commissioner Gee, with our remaining time, we'd like to do two things. Ms. Malzone would like to share some information with commissioners about a proposed amendment to the Portsmouth zoning ordinance for our Chesapeake Bay Preservation District. But before she comes join me at the podium, Valerie, I'd like to ask Ms. Jackson to introduce our Seize the Summer interns who are sitting in the audience. And I'll pull your presentation back.
First.
No, you're first.
Good evening, everyone. This year, Portsmouth, we have summer interns. We had them last year. And I have the privilege and honor to introduce the two that we have with us this year. Corey Richardson. Can you stand up, Corey? And he's the rising senior at IC Norcom High School. And I have Davion Lewis, and she's a rising senior at Churchland High School. These two have been awesome this year. Last year I had 3 that were great, and these are great. They have learned the zoning process, the planning commission process. They have reviewed site plans. They've been on a site visit. Administratively, they've helped me with filing and organizing a lot of the files that I have. They have assisted in answering the telephones, which can get pretty busy in the planning department. They have assisted with the customers that are coming up to the counters. They often ask, is there something else for them to do if they get bored? They've had the privilege of attending a Board of Zoning Appeals meeting also and ask a lot of questions, which that tells me that they're interested in what we do. And then today they're at the Planning Commission meeting. They've only been here for 3 weeks, but my goal is within the department they'll get something out of what we do in planning and zoning that they would like to do in the future and that they can continue. It's been a joy and a pleasure to have these two professionals here with us today.
Doing our best behavior.
Change your we to
Well, not me.
Okay, good afternoon, Planning Commissioners.
Yeah.
I'm Valerie Malzone. I'm a principal planner with the City of Portsmouth, and I'm here to provide you some information on an upcoming agenda item that will be before you either in August or September. Our Chesapeake Bay Preservation Area Ordinance, which is Chapter 9.1 of the Portsmouth City Code, is undergoing a mandatory update. The Virginia State Code is requiring localities to assess the impacts of climate change and sea level rise on all proposed development in the resource protection area during the plan of review process. These updates are required to be adopted by October 31st, 2025. So what will this look like in the future once these are adopted is the Chesapeake Bay exception applications that come before Planning Commission, as well as any plan of development in the Chesapeake Bay Preservation Area that's reviewed administratively will now include a resiliency assessment. And the resiliency assessment will need to include how sea level rise, flooding, and storm surge might impact that development. Applications may also include adaptation measures for these environmental impacts, in addition to the mitigation that you're already familiar with seeing. Some other amendments may include living shorelines being exempt from the requirements of a water quality impact assessment. If you're not familiar with what a living shoreline is, it's a method of stabilizing a shoreline with natural materials such as sand, stone, and plants, other than more armored materials such as a seawall or a bulkhead or a revetment. There are additional provisions to conserve mature trees within the RPA. Not much change in that one, actually. We were already doing a pretty good job of that. So other than these state mandated updates, we are updating to eliminate scrivener's errors, as well as ensure consistency with any time the stormwater management code sections and the erosion and sediment control sections are mentioned throughout the Chesapeake Bay ordinance, to make sure that they agree with our stormwater management and erosion and sediment control ordinances as well. But you'll get a more detailed look at the proposed amendments when it comes before you, but wanted to make you aware, and if you had any preliminary questions.
Yeah, one quick question. So this is coming from the state?
Correct, yes.
Okay.
So this is the actual wording, yes.
Okay. Commissioners, any additional questions? Okay, great.
Awesome, thank you guys.
Commissioner G, typically at this point we would go over our Board of Zoning Appeals agenda items. We do not have a BZA meeting scheduled for July. There are no agenda items.
Perfect. Great. Thank you, Director Rhodes. That being said, I think that's going to conclude the work session. Commissioners, we have about 15 minutes until public session, so I encourage you all to grab some food and then meet me in there on the dais. Food is located in the side room today. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to welcome you all here to a very important meeting today, Tuesday, July 1st, 2025, in the City of Portsmouth City Council chambers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, we will now have roll call. Please indicate your presence electronically. Five members of the Planning Commission are present.
Commissioners, before you are the minutes of the June 3rd, 2025 public hearing. If there aren't any changes, we are in need of a motion.
Motion to approve minutes.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Madam Secretary?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes from the June the 3rd, 2025 public hearing, and you will be voting electronically. The minutes have been approved by a vote of 5-0. Items reviewed today will be presented to City Council for action at their July the 8th, 2025 public hearing, or as otherwise noted. Announcements of future meetings and conferences. Our next scheduled work session is Tuesday, August the 5th, 2025 at 12:30 p.m. City Council Conference Room, followed by public hearing at 1:30 p.m. City Council Chamber. Planning Commission rules limit a speaker up to 5 minutes to speak. We also ask that everyone please silence your cell phones at this time if you have not already done so. Our first item, HSND-25-02, Truxton. L. Drake Still request an honorary street name designation to designate a portion of Portsmouth Boulevard between Frederick Boulevard and Deep Creek Boulevard as Horace Savage Jr. Way in recognition of Horace Savage Jr. The property is public right-of-way owned by the City of Portsmouth. The future land use map of the Builds One Portsmouth Comprehensive Plan designates this property for transportation. The staff coordinator is Megan Gribble. Will the applicant or representative for this application please come forward and present your application at this time?
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Leah Drake Stith, President of the IC Norcom Alumni Association, also member of the Historical Truxton Civic League. We have made the request to have this portion of Portsmouth Boulevard in honor of Horace Savage Way. Beyond Mr. Savage, his family was very instrumental in the building of the Truxton community. When Truxton was first started, Mr. Horace Savage's grandfather was considered the mayor of the Truxton community. He was also instrumental in helping the building of the Truxton Elementary School. But on to Horace Savage. Horace Savage has served the United States in the military, in the Army. He has also served in the U.S. Army, then taught social studies, history, chemistry, physics, and driver education at IC Norcom High School in Portsmouth. He led the school's football and track teams to state championships in the late 50s and 60s. He broke racial barriers, first African-American president of the Portsmouth Integrated Education Association, 1967. Later, he became assistant principal and assistant principal in the school district. He also served as president of the Kiwanis Club and Community Concert Association, the latter making him Portsmouth's first citizen. His legacy in the community, we are proposing to establish a scholarship in his name in honor of him, as well as the street naming. We are honored to be able to honor Mr. Savage. He was also Deputy Assistant Superintendent of Schools. He served as the clerk of the school board. He has had numerous roles in the city of Portsmouth. He has been, there is none other that I can think of who has done as much in the city of Portsmouth as Horace Savage has done. And especially as he he celebrates his 100th birthday on today. So we're in the process now of celebrating his 100th birthday. But he is he has been one of the trailblazing individuals within our city. So from World War II to shaping youth throughout education and building educational unity, his is a story which reflects profound dedication to public service and breaking down racial barriers in the city of Portsmouth. And we pray that each of you will find it within your hearts to name this portion of Portsmouth Boulevard after Mr. Horace Savage, especially on this, his 100th birthday. Should you have any questions?
Commissioners, do you have any questions of the applicant? Commissioner Jiggins?
I would be remiss if I did not applaud IC Norcom alumnus Leah Drake Stith, who I've known a very long time, for presenting this application to us today. There is not enough that can be said about Dr. Horace Savage, but I will say this. He's a graduate of IC Norcom High School.
Yes, he is.
He is also a graduate of Hampton University.
Yes, he
To
is.
which I am a graduate. My family has known him for 4 generations or more. There is none other that is more deserving of this street name than Dr. Savage. But I am curious, why this particular spot?
Because the Horace Savage family grew up right within that block. In fact, the house is still there that he grew up in. And it's right there near Truxton School, where Truxton School was at one time, and which his family was instrumental in the building and servicing the student needs at Truxton School.
That answers my question.
Thank you. Commissioner Curry?
I would like to do a rebuttal from Commissioner Jenkins from Hampton. I just wanted to say, behold, God bless you.
And Reverend Curry, behold to you as well. I agree. That's the only mistake he made in his life, okay?
Okay, Madam Secretary?
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a public hearing on HSND-25-02. I have no registered speakers. However, if there's someone here who did not get an opportunity to register and would like to address this application, you may come forward, state your name and your address for the record, and you will have up to 5 minutes to speak. Appearing to be none, Mr. Chairman, members of the Planning Commission, this public hearing is now closed.
Commissioners, is there any additional discussion? If not, we are in need of a motion and a second.
Chairman, I also move to approve HSND-25-02.
Second.
Okay. Madam Secretary, we have a motion and a second.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Motioned and second to approve HSND-25-02, and you will be voting electronically. This item is approved by a vote of 5-0.
Madam Secretary, I did have one correction from earlier. When it was stated that the items for action today are going to be reviewed, it's going to be at the August 26th City Council meeting. So I want to make sure everyone is aware of that one correction.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Our next item, UP-25-01 Mayflower Park. Coastal Virginia developers request a use permit for the development of 17 townhouse units on approximately 1.7 acres located at 1200 Hodges Ferry Road in the Urban Residential UR zoning district. The future land use map of the Build One Portsmouth Comprehensive Plan designates this property for the institutional public uses. The properties are further described as tax map 618, parcel 42. Staff coordinator is Patrice Branch. Will the applicant or representative for this application please come forward, and you will have and present your application.
Thank you, members of the Planning Commission and staff. My name is Grady Palmer. My business address is located in Virginia Beach at 222 Central Park Avenue. I want to thank you for allowing us to be here today. I'm here on behalf of Mr. Bob Arnett, Mr. Billy Mann, who are the applicants for this project. Portsmouth, like most cities, has adopted policies to encourage quality, affordable housing, and in this particular case, this is for sale missing middle, what I often refer to as a missing middle, where oftentimes people who are, and we hear this a lot, where are our policemen, where are our firefighters, where are our teachers going to live? And it's the middle, and the middle is often missing in our housing profile. And so this proposal will, if approved, will develop and construct 17 for sale townhouse style units that will be professionally managed by a homeowners association. Now, Portsmouth has two, and the staff report discusses this, two important policies that this proposal was was developed around. One is your citywide strategic housing plan that was adopted in 2020. And it says Portsmouth should provide regulatory support for developers of modern, affordable multifamily, which is the proposal today before you. And additionally, you have a compact centers character area in your comprehensive plan, and that encourages dwellings and structures generally ranging from small to medium scale footprint. And this is important. It also encourages traditional neighborhood design. And so the proposal that you see here on the screen is where the units are pushed up onto the roads with front porches. Parking is in the back, is shielded to the back of the dwellings. And really, when we do this type of development profile, we're trying to create an attractive streetscape. And so you'll see all the stormwater. You can't really read that, but a lot of the stormwater is in the rear. So we're really focused on how this will look from the streetscape, from Logan Drive, from Hodges Ferry Road. We want to create community, and this is one way to create community, is to allow people to live up on the street and have their porches in close proximity to the roads. This proposal is designed around both of these policies. As you've heard, the zoning is urban residential, so there's no need to change the underlying zoning. In the immediate vicinity, there's a mix of zoning that includes more urban residential, mixed use, urban multifamily, light industry. So as you heard in the work session, this is sort of a transitional step down approach. Sort of the classic, intense along Portsmouth Boulevard, a lot of retail, a lot of commercial. As you step back away, you get to the church. And this sort of missing gap here, and you see the single family there on Leonard and Logan. This provides that important transitional as you go from intense land uses as you start to step down to low intensity single family residential. So that's why a big focus is on that transitional quality of this project. By right, approximately, I did the math, so I apologize if I got this wrong. I think about 8 houses could be built with no public review. Using the townhouse format, the layout would result in a pleasant streetscape along Harper's Ferry, Logan Drive, parking in the rear, and it helps us maximize community green space that you can see in the back there. Strong design standards have been included that will control in perpetuity. Specifically, all future owners will be subject to these design standards, and those are conditioned in the conditions if you so choose to approve this. So those conditions will attach and run with the land. So those design standards will be incorporated into our homeowners association, and so those will live on forever. And so that's a great way to control quality going forward. It's not just when we build it. The quality will be there in the future. So this proposal will create 17 home ownership opportunities at an affordable price that's encouraged by city policies on residentially zoned property. So I do want to tell you a couple of items that we included that weren't requirements, and I know y'all talked about this in your work session. We did a trip generation study, and it was determined that during the peak, so when everybody's coming to work or leaving to go to work and coming home from work, we will add 7 vehicles in the morning in the AM peak and 9 vehicles per hour, and this is per hour. 7 vehicles per hour in the morning, and then 9 vehicles per hour in the evening. So relatively light profile for traffic generation. In addition, we did provide a fiscal impact analysis. This part of the property for many, many, many years has been part of the church and has not been taxed. And so that property will move to the tax rolls. Once it's subdivided and purchased, that property will now be a tax contributor. And so we've included the fiscal impact analysis for your review as well. And with that, I'll stand by for any questions that you have. Thank you for the time, and I will stand by for questions. Thank you. I do ask for your approval.
Commissioners, are there any questions? Commissioner Melvin?
Yes, I had a question.
Yes, sir.
Sir, were you able to look at the concerns from the residents in the area in regards to traffic?
We did, so that's why we submitted the traffic generation. So we heard those concerns, and so while that's not normally a part of the conditional use permit process, we did want to have that looked at. So, and that's the number that I quoted a minute ago: 7 vehicles per hour in the morning, 9 vehicles per hour in the evening. So from our perspective, relatively light impact to traffic. So we know there's traffic issues out on Portsmouth and Hodges Ferry. The impact on this, I think, is just so minimal that, I mean, certainly it is an impact, but it's certainly minimal impact.
Okay, just want to make sure that you're ready to discuss each traffic point when upon council.
Thank you.
And then additionally, how much will a single unit cost?
So anywhere from 290,000 to 325,000.
290. Okay. And how much would the HOA be?
I'm sorry?
How much would the HOA be?
Well, we don't know exactly just yet. I think it'll be pretty minimal. You know, normally what gets HOAs expensive are pools and hard assets like that need to be maintained. In this situation, the HOA is going to have to maintain the grass, and that's one of the benefits of having an HOA managed facility is that the grass will be cut, so that's one thing. And there'll be some maintenance for the private roads, but there's not a lot that's going to be contributing to the cost.
Okay. And are you considering this just regular housing or affordable housing?
I see it as the missing middle. You see a lot of you see cities focus on affordable housing at the housing's a spectrum, and so what I see this is the middle price point that just is very, very difficult to deliver in the city, and not just this city, but most cities. So I think that's one of the real qualities of this project.
And for Dr. Russell, do we know how many houses that Portsmouth is short of in terms to building? Do we know the number?
Commissioner Melvin, I'm not sure I understand your question. So Portsmouth is relatively built out in terms of being an urban core community. And so we have very few large tracts that are open for development. And so the language that we use is that we need to maximize the development opportunities for those pieces that we have left so that they are being developed for their highest and best use. So with respect to housing need, we have significant older housing stock. And so those tend to be long-term property owners who've aged in place. And so in terms of new housing opportunities, there are a number that we look for. We want to create opportunities for homeowners on fixed income who've aged in their housing to have resources to rehab those housing units. And then not what we call affordable housing, but very low income housing there's a deficit in that area, but those would not be home ownership opportunities. So more subsidized with respect to rental and income-based rental units.
Okay. Thank you. You answered my question perfectly. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Commissioner Glover? Thank you.
My question is for you. You said we've got 17 townhomes. We estimate 2.38 people per townhouse, but we're only estimating 7 folks that are going to be involved in rush hour traffic in the morning. That's less than half of those townhomes having somebody leaving for work. Can you help me understand how you arrived at those numbers?
So what the traffic engineers do is they use a VDOT trip generation manual. And every individual land use classification has a number associated with it. And so our traffic engineer plugged in this project into the VDOT traffic generation manual, and then it tells you what the traffic generation is during the morning rush and the evening rush. So that's using the VDOT traffic manual.
Okay. And do you trust those numbers?
I'm sorry?
Do you trust those numbers?
Those numbers are what we routinely see.
And I understand.
I'm a lawyer. I don't
understand that. I'm looking at this from a situational standpoint. You've got 17 townhomes in a very middle-income neighborhood that you're going to have 2 adults, and every one of those working unless they're retired.
Right.
So I'm just saying,
I
I think that number's going to be higher.
Thank you.
Commissioner Jiggins?
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm sorry. Please state your name again, please.
My name is Grady Palmer.
Palmer?
M-E-R, correct.
Thank you. And I'm glad that you're staying at the podium in case we have more questions to ask you. just to refresh my memory and for those who are viewing, what would you estimate that the revenue from this project will derive to the city of Portsmouth, please? That's my question.
So we studied year one. So once the project is fully built out, we estimate about $57,000 in year one to the city. And then obviously every year after that is a taxable event as well. So if you take that number, obviously, residential values fluctuate. They may go up, they may go down, but we initially estimated during year one after full build out is $57,000 a year.
Thank you so much.
Commissioners, were there any other questions of the applicant? Okay, great, thank you. Madam Secretary?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a public hearing on item UP-25-01. I do have a couple of speakers. Our first speaker is Conwell Bonka. Please come forward, state your name and your address for the record, and you will have up to 5 minutes to speak.
Good afternoon, Commissioners and neighbors. My name is Conwell Boscia. I live at 318 Leonard Road, the second block from this proposed project. I just want to point out that all of the adjacent properties are single-family dwellings. This is a fairly old, I think our house was built in 1957, 58, something like that, and fairly stable neighborhood. This proposed project will change the whole characteristic of that portion of our neighborhood. I also like to point out that we have significant drainage problems. This project will create considerable runoff, additional runoff from the roofs and the paved areas. And we already have water management problems if we're anywhere near high tide, high winds, and high rains. I just wonder if there's been any environmental impact studies done to address these concerns. Can the commission answer that?
Dr. Russell, was there any environmental impact studies?
Ms. Commissioner G, the answer to that is no. However, it's that level of analysis is done in the development plan review process, which is part of our site plan review, and the development would have to meet stormwater, water quality management requirements to proceed.
And just for clarity for the speaker, that isn't this phase. That's a future phase.
Future phase of the review process.
Well, we pay additional stormwater management fees, and we don't have good stormwater management already. And this is going to contribute even more problems. So if they were single-family dwellings, it would be a lot easier to swallow for someone who's been a Portsmouth resident for over 50 years and in our current residence for 40 years. So.
Thank you, Mr. Brooker. And just one point of clarity, these would be considered single-family attached versus single-family detached is what you're referring to, standard. These aren't considered multifamily, which is what I was thinking at first when I saw it, because these are owned single-family homes, just attached, just for clarity.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
These are more towards high density
Yes.
rather than single-family detached.
Yes.
You are absolutely correct. Thank you for correcting me.
No problem.
Yeah.
Was there any other questions, Commissioner Melvin?
Good afternoon, sir. Question: if the traffic problems and the drainage problems were solved, would you be of acceptance to this
Well,
building?
I'm not nearly as impacted, because I'm as far as you can go down Leonard Road. I'm the last house on Leonard Road. So it's not going to affect me personally as much as it is some of my neighbors. But it will change the characteristic of that neighborhood. And there's more than just the traffic problems associated with the estimated 2.5 people per hour or whatever it was. During construction, there's going to be dump trucks and all kinds of additional things. I would think, I mean, I don't know how you build without all that confusion. The parking lots, the additional roofs, all that land right now is absorbing moisture and percolating it down to the water table, and that's all going to be runoff.
Okay, so if traffic is solved, if drainage is solved, construction period is only a certain time frame, is not forever. The point that you're making is a characteristic, right? And then that's all from the concerns.
I'd just like to know what they're going to do different.
Yep. So the concerns from the
For-
citizens were that the property will lower the new homes will lower their property value. I'm looking at Zillow here, and the single-family homes in that area average about $300,000. The townhomes, based on what the applicant said, are going to be $310,000. With given interest rates, those people will be paying, not including HOA, $2,000. So it seems like you're going to bring in high, at least middle class, above middle class earners here to that area. So in terms of characteristics, I don't know if you mean the home or the people, but it seems like you're going to, if approved, have people that come in who are good for the neighborhood and who take pride, especially with a HOA to be considered. So I'm just trying to figure out what exact problem do you have if all those things can be addressed? If you just don't want it to be built straight out right, then that's fine. I mean, that's your opinion. But if the concerns are addressed, I don't see how we can deny.
Well, I'm just pointing out some things that I haven't heard addressed or mentioned.
I agree with you, and if it's not addressed, but it gets.
And I also know we bought when we bought our property, or we started buying our property. It took 30 years to buy it. There was very little traffic on Hodges Ferry Road, and then they built, the Greenwood Drive interstate exit. They built up the Taylor Road, Chesapeake Square Mall area, and now we have thousands of cars by our front door every day and half the night, including the ones with the loud exhausts and the blaring music that you can hear coming from miles away. So things change over time, and it's usually not for the better. I know it sounds pessimistic, but that's just the nature of our world. Left unattended, things get worse. They don't get better. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Commissioner Curry? Good day. I believe Mr. Palmer, would you come back? I've had the privilege to play basketball when I was younger at Central Baptist Church, which holds a lot of games and community activities, which has a lot of traffic on a weekly basis that runs back and forth through there on a weekly basis. I enjoyed it then, and I still enjoy to go see some of the kids play at Upward there, which also contribute to traffic, because in life things happen, and as we move on in life, things will happen, and we have to conform to what's happening, and traffic will come around. We'll have horrible, not so good infrastructure here, but we have to embrace for what's getting ready to come for the future. Now, I'm looking at these emails, Mr. Palmer, about you met with someone, Leticia and Jeffrey. I don't want to mess up their last name. but you met with them, and they said they met with you, I think Mr. Bob Arnett,
That's correct.
and they met with you because they had some very strict concerns. And in his letters, they said they voiced their concerns, and they heard them outright, and they were able to meet the concerns and come to an agreement with them and a few other neighbors. They're all other neighbors who had a negative or have a negative connotation of what is happening have the same opportunity as these other neighbors who said they are in agreement because they met with some of the staff and they were able to address their concerns.
Well, Mr. Arnett did meet twice with community residents. I don't think that he met with everyone, and we're an open book. We have to be. So if folks are here today that want to meet with us, we will happily meet with them and try to work, going forward, because we don't want people to be upset with. I mean, we're trying to do a good thing and build homes for people. Like, we get that change is hard, but we did meet with people in the community, in particular neighbors who are immediately adjacent to the site, and I know that we did have one letter of support from one of those neighbors.
But I'm going to ask the question. So everybody has the same opportunity as this couple of other neighbors to meet.
Now that I don't know how Mr. Arnett got his mailing, but he did meet with 2 times with individuals in the community, and we will continue to make ourselves available.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Commissioner Melvin?
Yes, just for the crowd, for those that did not get to meet the applicant, given what happens here, between this time and the city council meeting, I definitely recommend to go speak with the applicant about your concerns, especially if you're here. Our last 2 council meetings, we had a similar issue with a neighborhood where they had the opportunity to go after we pushed the date back, and they did not go to visit the applicant even when they held a meeting. So I strongly suggest to go visit the applicant and for the applicant itself to reach out as well, so that you all can compromise, if able, so that there's no problems when you go up before city council. It's the only thing I have.
Commissioner Curry?
Commissioner, we also want to be very careful and meticulous in giving advice and what we recommend to them. They can take a lead on their own, but let's make sure we be very meticulous in giving advice and predicate to them on what they can do. Okay? Thank you.
All right, Madam Secretary? Commissioner Jiggets?
Yes, this is what I want to make sure we all understand. Across the country, there is a shortage of decent housing. And so we must keep that in mind, because everyone wants to live in a world where they can have decent housing. Now, personally, I will be voting for the project because I know it is good for Portsmouth. Thank you.
Madam Secretary?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Our next speaker is Angela Anderson. You may come forward, state your name and your address for the record, and you will have up to 5 minutes to speak.
Good afternoon. My name is Angela Anderson. I reside at 310 Leonard Road in Portsmouth. I am here today because I have some very big concerns. I'm not an engineer. I used to be a city employee, and now I'm retired. But I have lived in the Mayflower Park area for 10 years, and slowly but surely, Leonard Road that you see leading up to this new development has become the Indianapolis Speedway. I have had on many occasions to step out to the side of the street and physically try to slow the traffic down. This is on a daily basis. We have young families that live on Leonard Road. Logan Drive, they do not speed like they do on Leonard. I can clock them about 35 to 40 miles an hour.
because they're just, you can see the wind in their hair when they're going down the road. Also, this is a 17-unit development. What if the church property sells in the future? Will they be adding additional units? That is the concern. The traffic, the children that we have in the neighborhood that are starting now to come into the neighborhood like to play, especially now that school is out. And this is a big concern because I've called the police department traffic division no less than 5 times, never got a phone call back. All I want is some traffic control or some kind of a LED speed limit sign to show the drivers that they're going in excess of 35 miles an hour, and it's a 15 to 20 mile an hour residential zone. Logan Drive would be the perfect entrances for this development if you approved it. However, something needs to be done at the end of Leonard Road to keep the residents from coming off Hodges Ferry and speeding down Leonard Road to get to their apartment. And there is going to be now more than the 9 to 7 additional cars in the afternoon or the mornings. They're either going to be late going to school or work, or they want to hurry up and get home and into their air-conditioned unit. Then you're going to have the teenagers. They'll be learning to drive in the future, and they'll be added to those numbers. So I'm here today to ask you not to approve this development. It's nice that the city of Portsmouth is looking for affordable housing, but if I understood Mr. Palmer correctly, $57,000 is all the city's going to get on an annual basis. I don't think that that's worth it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Anderson. And just to address your one concern, when you saw me shaking my head no, this application is for those 17 units. If the church was to sell in the future and someone wanted to build additional units, they would be having to come right through this process.
Okay.
So this isn't a free pass to throw up 50 apartments or anything like that. No, it's just the 17 units.
Okay, but it sets a precedent.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is a public hearing on item UP-25-01. If there's someone here who did not get an opportunity to register and would like to address this application, you may come forward, state your name and your address for the record, and you will have up to 5 minutes to speak.
My name is Judith Mustard, and I'm at 213 Leonard Road, and that's the first block from where they're talking about. My concern is, in talking about the traffic, we have a no turn onto our street. We have a no turn onto Hodges Ferry Road. It is not being policed, and the people are turning off of it like mad. And the reason for this turn off, to begin with, was the fire department. The traffic backs up to the fire department and keeps them from being able to get out. And as a daughter of I moved there when I was, to begin with, when I was 15. My parents lived there the whole time. I purchased my dad's house after he died. But I had to use this fire department for the ambulance. If they have to sit there till the traffic will move enough for them to get out, that is a major problem. And the police are not governing this roads, so the people know they're not doing it, so they're not paying attention to the sign. So if you see the sign that should take care of it, it doesn't take care of it. I have a house next door to me that has been vacant for 5 years. I have called and called and called and asked the city to do something about the roads. One place in the ditch where we're talking about the drainage, the weeds are higher than I am. And I have called them, and if they can't govern what we've got now, how can they govern 17 more units if they can't take care of what we got now? We were promised when we were annexed, I wasn't, but about 16 then, and that we would get curbs and gutters and drainage. I am way over 16 now. I am 81 years old, and we still have not gotten that promise that we got that many years ago. My concern is if Portsmouth can't take care of what they've already got, they don't need 17 more at the end of my street. And what they were saying about the speeders going up it, they're turning off of there so that they could go up there and turn back onto Hodges Ferry Road, or go into the church where the school was, or where now the nursery, the preschool is. And I just would like to add that to our argument.
Thank you, Ms. Mustard. Commissioner Curry? I remember from Hodges Ferry Road, that place, that I want to make sure here that a lot of that traffic is not coming because of housing in that area. A lot of that traffic is coming, people are cutting through trying to get to Chesapeake Square. Because I remember when I was a young boy, my mother got pulled over by the police on Hodges Ferry when they said don't turn through certain traffic. And they were pulling people over left and right. They don't do that anymore, but but at that time, we hear your concerns, but I don't think that traffic is coming from housing.
It's not coming
but it's
from
coming
housing,
from people.
but you're adding 17 units that's supposed to have 2-car garages, and most couples have two vehicles. So that's 34 cars you're adding to come down our street.
Mm-hmm.
But also, like I said, during the rush hour, they're not supposed to be coming down our street.
Mm-hmm.
But since it's no longer being taken care of, I mean, it's been a long time since they've pulled anybody over. Until recently, I think I saw 2. But there was years, 2 or 3 years since I've seen anybody being pulled over for going around that corner. And they used to do it all the time when it was first put up. And like you say, your mother was caught, but they're not governing it anymore. They're not enforcing the law anymore. And when they're not doing that, then it's causing trouble. And those of us that live there, like myself, I have to come down a different street in order to be law-abiding. I have to come down a different street and go, kind of go different way to get to my house so that I don't turn down there and then everybody else is turning. And I say everybody, some people don't, but the traffic is terrible through there, and I cannot believe that figure that they have, that's all the cars that would be there between 4 and 5, and then 5 and 6 would be just that little, when you're adding a possibility of 34 cars. But the blockage of the fire department was a concern for me, and plus, like I said, trying to get help with something that's grown out of control. The backyard looked like a jungle, and The mosquitoes were terrible.
Thank you. Commissioner Melvin?
Yes, Dr. Russell, is there a proper way to help out the residents here with their concerns in regards to the speeding, the drainage issues, the left turn? Is it possible to get like stop signs, speed bumps, or a shift of the medium? Anything? How do we help out the residents here? What's the proper procedures?
Well, there are a number of things. So we will, all of the questions that come out of the Planning Commission meeting go in the advance package to the City Council. So the questions relative to traffic and stormwater, that they're going to be itemized verbatim. The stormwater issues, as I've said previously, those will be vetted in our site plan review process. So the thing about traffic is we have to study it and then validate that those are issues or concerns. But with your permission, Commissioner G, I'd like to make a comment about the traffic study. And so the applicant, he didn't say 9, he said 9 per hour, right? So and it's your peak hour period. So your AM peak hour is about 6 to 8 a.m. and your PM peak hour is 5 to 7 p.m. And there could be trips outside of those peak hour periods. So we're not saying 34, only half of those residents would leave the property during the course of a day. So I just wanted to just share that as well. So the concerns that won't be vetted through the development plan review process, we can forward that to our engineering department. And I hope I've answered your question.
Yes, thank you. I highly recommend if we get an engineer representative for things of this matter, and then at the city council meeting, just so that they can answer the questions. Especially because I'm seeing a trend of people, their concerns are more about the traffic or stormwater than about the actual building itself. So if we can just tackle that, then maybe we will have less concerns. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners. And I just want to echo and take it to a different level. I think this is an opportunity for us as a city and for as our departments to publicize some of the services we offer, how people can have some of these things addressed, because often we don't know how to have these issues dealt with. So I encourage our city communications department to look at this as opportunities to publicize some of the services we already offer. But, Madam Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a public hearing on item UP-25-01. If there is anyone here who did not get an opportunity to register and would like to address this application, please come forward, state your name and your address for the record, and you will have 5 minutes to speak.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Susan Reed. I live at 312 Leonard Road. I've been at that address for 17 years, but I'm also a lifetime resident. I grew up in Park Manor, so it's just not too far away. I moved to Mayflower Park because it's just a little area. And, you know, it's nice little homes, it's nice and quiet. But one of the things with traffic to remember is that the streets aren't that wide because they were built so long ago. So a lot of us residents, we have a driveway that fits one car. So people will park along the sides of the street, which, you know, can impede at times other traffic. So adding more cars coming up and down Leonard, especially if you're going to come out of the townhome situation, it'll make things a little tight, but, you know, they still, you know, as others have echoed, they still speed up and down the road. Everyone's in a hurry. Speeding is everywhere. And it's just really bad in the neighborhoods. I mean, I can echo again about the rest of my neighbors with the drainage situations. We have drainage ditches. I have called Public Works several times to ask them to dig the ditches all the way down the road so that we get better drainage. And their response to me was, well, we can't do that. And I said, well, why not? And they said, well, the neighbors don't want their ditches dug. And I'm going, whoa, wait a minute. The ditches are the city. We pay to have, and they don't do it. They just will not come out and dig those ditches to allow the drainage. And so when it does rain heavily, the ditches fill up and it spills over into the roadways. And if anybody knows, you know, when you get around Hodges Manor Elementary and down through there on Cherokee, the drain is just horrible. And, you know, city council knows. I've heard people even out in Churchland with drainage ditches complain the same as what we're saying here. My concern is, you know, if you approve these 17 townhomes, and I understand that the church is going to eventually sell the rest of their property off, and they're going to move to a place that's smaller, that this will set a precedence, and then we will have to look forward to having even more townhomes built. And I'm not sure if that's the best way to use this. I would like to see our neighborhood kept as a single-family detached homes neighborhood like it is now, and stay within the confines. I think it would just be much better for us. It's what I would prefer. I don't see having townhomes that are newer and better down the end of the street is going to do anything for the rest of our neighborhood. I just think it's, you know, they'll be sticking out like a sore thumb because they're new. We're not. I mean, my home was built in 1959. So, you know, again, my concern is the traffic that's going to go down, the drainage, which we still have, and I don't know what else to add. I just would prefer to see single-family detached homes built down there than to have the townhomes. And I know some of y'all think it's a great idea, and I just don't.
Thank you, Ms. Reed. I wanted to add for the record, we did receive your communication prior to the
Okay.
meeting. Not in time for it to be distributed, but it will be included in the packet
Okay,
that
thank
goes
you.
to City Council. With that being said, City Council does have the ultimate say in these. Our
Yes.
job today is its proper use of the land. So I do encourage everyone, whether you're pro or against, to show up to City Council meeting on August 26th to express your opinion, because they do look at it from a different lens than we do.
Yes, they do. Thank you.
Thank you.
No other questions for anybody for me? Groovy.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is a public hearing on item UP-25-01. If there's anyone else here who did not get an opportunity to register, you may come forward now, state your name and your address for the record, and you will have up to 5 minutes to speak.
Good afternoon. My name is Joseph Christian. I live at 1205 Hodges Ferry Road. I mean, I'm all for it, you know, and for the townhomes. It's fine and stuff. It's just more or less like concerning because the traffic, like everybody else says, and it's a pain in the backside, and especially, you know, exactly where I live, because I got to watch both left and right and the rear come, you know, when I back out, because I got a big company truck and everything that I park there. I mean, if you do something with the traffic, slow it down or something like that, that'd be fine. But the houses coming in there, it's fine as well. You know, I just wanted, like, just a couple questions were like, would it bring my value up to my house, you know, value up on there, you know, with those coming in, or lower it? Because I may have missed that at the beginning of the meeting. And they are like garage level and then first level and second level homes that will be going in. I may have missed that as well. But other than that, as long as that, because I know the traffic's going to be doubled and it's already crap, but it's like, I mean, just if that can be addressed, like when they come in, I'm down with the homes and stuff. You know, forward progress. But it's just a real tough situation. You know, and then, you know, because it's like sometimes I feel like I got to own it. You know, to back it right out on the street or something, and just to take it. But that was basically all my concerns. But I'm, like I said, I'm down with all the housing coming in, and in the future, I just won't have no place to play for a little while, but it'll be all right. But that's all I got. And I'll thank you guys.
Thank you, Mr. Christian. I do encourage you to speak with the applicant about those specifications for what they're going to ultimately build, if approved.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is a public hearing on item UP-25-01. If there's anyone else here who would like to address this application, come forward, state your name and your address, and you will have up to 5 minutes to speak.
For the record, my name is Benjamin Keeling. My wife and I reside at 215 Mayflower Road. So our property is directly adjacent to the church property. All right. We're further down in terms of where the 17 units are going to be. My wife and I are part of the residents that did meet with Bob Arnett. He met at the right outside here. These doors was the initial time, and that was when he was trying to get a adjustment made on the property. And then he set up a meeting for us to meet with him later, and we did that. I appreciate what Bob has done in terms of talking with us and working to deal with any issues and work them as best as possible. My purpose of just standing up here right now is just to agree not only on Leonard, but on Mayflower Road. The traffic gets crazy, and a lot of it is speeding. It's just outright speeding. Now we are relatively new residents there in the area, but and of course, the city probably really can't control this scenario. But there was an accident here recently, right at the corner of Portsmouth Boulevard and Mayflower Road, so that traffic could not turn in from either direction onto Mayflower. So what people did, they cut around on Lewis and came through. And the traffic was backed up on Mayflower completely. And on that particular day, I was trying to leave out, and my disgust was to the standpoint that people realized they could see my car coming off of the driveway and had no courtesy whatsoever to even want to slow down and allow me to get in to move out of the area. So, but we see a lot of the speeding. The drainage is certainly a concern. Bob tried to he talked about some of that when he met with us, and so our concern is that while we are not directly at the area of the 17 units, but we have some thick trees on our property, on the backyard, and we certainly have concerns, my wife and I, in regards to any runoff that would ultimately affect the life of those trees. Those trees have been there for a long time, and so that would be a concern. But I'm saying for the record that Bob Arnett has tried to address the various issues.
Okay, thank you. Madam Secretary?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a public hearing on item UP-21-01. If there's anyone else here who did not get an opportunity to register and would like to address this application, you may come forward, state your name and your address for the record, and you will have up to 5 minutes to speak.
Hey, hello, everybody. My name is Kiasha Butler. I live at 305 Mayflower Road. I've been there about 13 years. I'm not completely for or against it, but just coming here was surprising to see that 17 townhomes are going to go on this space. Like, I think that is excessive. I know you said you went to Central or played basketball there. I have 4 children. My son played as well. I do not see how 17 townhomes are going to go there on that lot. A lot of kids play in that field. I'm assuming it's going to take up some of the playground area of the church. I heard somebody say that the church may be moving. In reference to one of the neighbors saying about the characteristics, I think to elaborate more on it, it's probably more or less because everything is like brick, 1-story ranch style home. So it really wouldn't fit when you talk. I don't know if it's supposed to be a 2-story, 3-story townhome, but it just doesn't fit the aesthetic of the neighborhood, if that makes sense. I think that's what they were trying to say. As far as traffic goes, I know that some of it is not necessarily it's just gonna be additional on top of what we already have. Mayflower Road is notorious for speeding. It's because they can't make the left turn off of Hodges Ferry to circle around. They will cut down Leonard, and definitely they're gonna cut down Mayflower, and they will fly around the bend. Since I've been there, I've had like 3 people hit the tree there, and somebody also run up in my yard and hit my mailbox and tree as well. So there is some, cause for concern there. Outside of this, if you guys want to speak to the city or however y'all do it, as far as, I'm not sure what they're called. They're like little mini speed bumps in the road, like little ripples or something, maybe around the bend, if it's on Leonard, if it's on Mayflower, just to kind of slow down any additional traffic that'll come in there. Maybe that'll help, or some additional stop signs, but they're definitely gonna like cut down it. I wish they had like an image of what this space actually looks like, because when you look at it up here on this blueprint of it, it's like, oh, it's so nice, but in person when you're there, like riding past it, I told my husband, I'm like, maybe they'll, maybe about 8 townhouses or something, and it's like 17, like, wow, that's crazy. It seems like it would be like right up on Logan, right up on Hodges Ferry. Like, I understand the new way that they're like building up stuff, townhouses, houses, everything is like jammed together. But it 100% does not fit the aesthetic of the neighborhood, whether that matters or not. But it's just, I feel like it would be really congested. I'm just not sure how. I guess it's just going to take that whole section up, is going to back up to my neighbors right there on the end of Mayflower, like all the way up to their yard, where all of that now is pretty much just open, some greenery. My kids go back and forth, ride scooters, skateboards. They play at the playground with the church, as well as the preschoolers, etc. So this is very interesting to see. And I just wanted to add that I think everybody would be concerned about just the traffic and the just additional, not saying, I know it's only, 17 units, but I just don't see how it would be set up there for that point. And even looking here, it looks like, oh, this is just like, I don't know how to explain. You have the road right there, and then that's probably, I don't know, maybe 100 feet going across, and then you have the church parking lot. So is this taking up some of the current parking lot that is there? I see that it's taking up the driveway into the church, into the little preschool that they have back there. That would be an interest to the, I guess, a new entrance to the townhomes, and no longer for the church. So yeah, it goes right up. So the red area around it, so the blue is all central, the church, or Watermark now, church, and then the red area. So yeah, it just takes their playground and backs up into the neighbors' homes, right up on Hodges. I would encourage anybody, if you have to say yeah or nay, just to ride past this area and see, does this like fit this neighborhood, this type of new improvement. It just, I don't know, it is a townhome community on the other side of the fire station, behind the Rite Aid there, but it's just, I don't know. I just want to add that I feel like the 17 townhomes is a bit excessive. Somebody said if it was single family homes, it would probably fit better. Yeah, if we put some more ranch style houses there, it would probably fit, but I don't see it. That's all I really had to add.
Thank you, Madam Secretary.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is a public hearing on item UP-2501. If there is someone else here who did not get an opportunity to register and would like to address this application, you may come forward, state your name and your address, and you will have up to 5 minutes to speak. Appearing to be none, Mr. Chairman, members of the Planning Commission, this public hearing. May I have 1 minute to readdress? Did he speak?
We only allow speakers to come up one time, unfortunately, sir.
Appearing to be none, Mr. Chairman, members of the Planning Commission, this public hearing is now closed.
Commissioners, is there any additional discussion? If not, we are in need of a motion and a second. Commissioner Jiggets?
Yes, I make the motion that we accept the use permit application for the 17 townhouse units.
With conditions, is that correct?
Yes, with conditions.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Madam Secretary, we have a motion and a second.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Motioned and second to approve UP-25-01 with conditions, and you will be voting electronically. This item is approved 5-0 with conditions. Our next item, Z-25 Z-25-01 citywide. Proposal to amend and reenact City Code Chapter 40.2 zoning ordinance, Sections 40.2-217 use specific standards, and 40.2-533 use permits, and Division V5 of Article 5 enforcement for the purpose of modifying, 1, the regulations applicable to event space banquet halls, entertainment establishments, and similar uses, and 2, the enforcement authority of the zoning administrator. Related changes to the additional sections of the zoning ordinance may also be discussed at the public hearing. The staff coordinator is Rhonda Russell.
Director Russell?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Am I going the wrong one? I'm not used to speaking at the public session, so I'll just make my way through this. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Planning staff is proposing amendments to the City of Portsmouth zoning ordinance regarding the regulation of entertainment establishments and event spaces. Specifically, we're proposing to amend the ordinance to strengthen or to make more rigorous regulations associated with these uses, and we're proposing to do that in the supplemental use standards for the use permit. More specifically, what we're proposing to do is regulate civic, social, and fraternal clubs so that these uses do not exist, coexist with entertainment venues and event spaces. We're requiring a 7-day waiting period for memberships, and we're limiting the number of patrons that could partake in a single event to a ratio equivalent with the number of members of the club. For our entertainment establishments, for the supplemental uses, we are stipulating requirements for hours of operation that would across the board limit those to midnight as the end time, unless an applicant requests an amendment to those supplemental uses at the time of application. We're asking in the draft language that the facilities be soundproofed and that they have security cameras, and the applicants have a security plan approved at the time of application, and that a lessee could not then lease the facility to a third party. You will recognize that these conditions or these proposed supplemental use standards are consistent with the conditions that we have routinely recommended as your staff members with these use permit requests. Now, with the supplemental use standards being proposed, these conditions would be more consistent because they would be applied to all applications. So the event space banquet hall use, essentially the supplemental use standards are identical. We're proposing that they be identical to the entertainment venue. So since your meeting in June, we are recommending 3 additional provisions in the supplemental use standards for the entertainment establishments in the event space. We are recommending language that requires that if an applicant would like to propose off-site parking to meet their parking needs, that they demonstrate that they have agreements with those adjacent venues that are agreeable to providing that parking, and that it be no more than 800 feet away from that venue, and that shuttle service be provided. Now, what's important about that is if a venue anticipates that they will need off-site parking and shuttle spaces, that speaks to the number of patrons that they are anticipating would frequent that venue, and all spaces are not going to be appropriate for that. So for example, if you have a space where it is bordered on 2 or 3 sides by residential use and they're proposing off-site parking where they're shuttling patrons to the facility, that likely is not an appropriate venue for that. And like token, if you have an event space or an entertainment use that wants to operate till 2 a.m. and they're bordered on 3 sides by residential uses, that more than likely is not an appropriate venue or location for that venue because of the potential negative off-site impacts. I will be very transparent and say to commissioners, as we will to the council, if we haven't resolved this comment, restaurants, we are being asked to more stringently regulate restaurants, and we're proposing that if a restaurant is open past midnight, that they have a security plan, that they have additional lighting, that they have not amplify noise. But all restaurants aren't necessarily a nuisance or potential for nuisances. For example, a fast food restaurant with a drive-through, and so staff is anticipating maybe a caveat that excludes drive-through restaurants from those requirements. And we also may need to tweak that time. While midnight is late for me at my advanced years, it's not late for a lot of people. And so perhaps that time frame needs to be a little bit later. Again, as with the entertainment venues and the event spaces, if an operator has police calls in excess of 2 annually, their use permit or zoning permit can be revoked, and we're recommending that language be replicated for restaurants. Joint responsibility for compliance. The Code of Virginia for enforcement stipulates that we enforce with the property owner, meaning if we issue a notice of violation and if we litigate noncompliance, that is issued to the property owner. We're proposing to include language that the property owner and the applicant both be culpable with respect to instances of noncompliance and violations of our ordinance. And so again, in summary, the intent of the proposed the proposed ordinance amendments is to reduce the incidences of nuisance behaviors, problem operators with this specific use, to strengthen the accountability of the venue operator as well as the owner, and to improve the quality of life of property owners and residents that are adjacent to these uses. We are asking that the Planning Commission recommend approval of these proposed ordinance amendments because there is some urgency with respect to moving these forward, as we have 2 operators who have had their cases deferred until we bring some more structure to the regulation of these uses. I'd be more than happy to answer any questions that you have.
Commissioners, let's see, first Commissioner Glover.
Dr. Russell, just when we were in our planning session, and you mentioned it again about the restaurants operating after 12 a.m., we were talking about the drive-through. I think something that was omitted from your slide that's included here, it says restaurants operating and serving alcohol. So we don't do that through drive-through, so we're good there.
Okay,
I just
thank
want to
you.
let you know that we're good.
Commissioner Melvin.
Yes, I know there was a discussion during the work session from the commissioners about some changes with the fraternities. You brought up a situation. If we approve this, will we still be able to make edits and whatnot?
Yes. Yes, and per the feedback from the work session, we recognize that we need to revisit that area.
Okay, so when I'm just trying to learn the procedure. Even though we're proposing the amendment and reenacting it, it's not final until
Council acts on the proposed ordinance amendment.
But we would not see the updated verbiage when it comes out. It would just go to council right away.
Unless the commission deferred action, you would not see the language again.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Jiggins?
Yes. Dr. Russell, I'm curious, is there any portion of this recommendation that is similar to what is in place in some of our sister cities? Are you able to address that?
Yes. So the language that you were initially in June that was submitted at your work session, the template for that language was the city of Norfolk. Some of the language for those amendments regarding culpability of the operator as well as the applicant, the parking and the shuttling came from surveying planning agencies throughout the Commonwealth in our planning advisory service.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Is there any additional questions for the director? Okay. Seeing no additional questions, we are in need of a motion and a second. Oh, I'm sorry, we do need to open this for public hearing, so I retract that statement. Madam Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a public hearing on item Z-25-01. If there's anyone here who would like to address this application, you may come forward. State your name and your address for the record, and you will have up to 5 minutes to speak. Appearing to be none, Mr. Chairman, members of the Planning Commission, this public hearing is now closed.
Commissioners, is there any additional discussion? If not, we are in need of a motion in a second. Oh, I'm sorry.
I just want to know, are we going, when we disclose in a private meeting, are we going to, I know they're going to fix the language concerning about the rental of event spaces?
They're going to be looking at that before they present it to City Council to address the concerns we had in.
So are we going to still vote on that, or?
I encourage you all to make a motion that brings that into account. Commissioner Glover?
Something that I just noticed, and I apologize for not noticing earlier, with regards to the civic and social whatever, and Commissioner Curry, just like for Scottish Rite, it's not going to be applicable to them because they don't sell alcohol on a regular basis. And this specifically says, like, what they're looking at is the club itself has an ABC license where they're selling alcohol to their members and guests, kind of like the Catholic Club. But like the Ambassador Club, my understanding, unless that's changed, they're bringing and leaving their bottles behind the bar. And I think they do that at the Catholic Club too, but the Catholic Club does sell beer. So I think that's a kind of a case-by-case basis, but I think the spirit of this is if it's truly a club and they don't have an ABC license where they're not serving and charging, no, excuse me, I take that back, serving, they're not charging members and guests for alcohol, then it's not going to be applicable. They can still do the event thing with the one-day thing. I'm not saying we shouldn't defer this and have some further discussion.
I just want to make sure that was the heart of the people bringing it. I agree that that's what we said. I just want to make sure that was the heart of what we said. If not, I need to make another motion.
Commissioner Jiggins?
I would ask Attorney Miller, can you address what they are discussing? Because it seems to me this is where legal would need to weigh in.
Yes, good afternoon. I think what Ms. Glover said is correct. That this is really targeted to Yeah, I'm sorry. Can you hear me now? Yes. Okay. I think what Ms. Glover said is essentially correct, that this is targeted to entities that are quote-unquote private clubs within the meaning of ABC regulations and are licensed by the ABC and charge guests and members for alcohol. And so the changes here would not affect entities that those issues do not apply to.
Thank you, Mr. Miller.
Commissioners, was there any additional questions? Oh, Commissioner Melvin.
No questions, but I think what we decide to vote on here today is whether we approve so that it can get to City Council so we don't withhold the 2 applicants who are waiting for this to be reenacted, or we defer until we get to see the language and ensure its correctness. If it gets to City Council and they have questions about it and want changes, then it just furthers, prolongs the status of the applicant. So it's something to think about.
To your point, I encourage, well, so it technically won't slow it down, because if it gets to the City Council, it would still have to wait till that next City Council meeting, so it's still gonna be the same timeline. But I encourage you all to set the wording in your motion and instructing the department to address these concerns prior to it getting to the City Council. As I can't be the maker of the motion, I encourage you all to do that, if that makes sense. But we will take a motion whenever you all are ready. Commissioner Jiggins?
Correct me if I'm wrong, but Dr. Russell, what is your opinion of what our chairperson has just said?
I believe what Chairman G is suggesting is that if you are inclined to make a motion to approve the proposed ordinance amendment, that it would include directions to revisit the civic, social, and fraternal club and organizations to ensure that they can continue to sublease their facilities.
I want to make a motion what Dr. Russell just said. It was just the criminal system. Yeah, whatever she said, that is what I'm in agree with. I heard what you said. I just can't regurgitate it.
Thank you, Commissioner Curry and Commissioner Glover. Madam Secretary?
Okay.
Thank you for helping us in this transition.
Mr. Chairman, I don't think we had a first and a second.
We had a motion by Commissioner Curry.
Okay.
And a second by Commissioner Glover.
Okay. We have a motion and a second to approve Z-25-001 with the condition, you're going to have to help me, Dr. Russell, because all I wrote was directions to revisit.
Yes, that staff revisit the definition and regulations for civic, social, and fraternal clubs to ensure that they can continue to lease their facilities, sublease.
And you will be voting electronically. This item is approved by a vote of 5-0.
Okay, Madam Secretary, we have one other item before we close the agenda today. I just want to take this opportunity to recognize two very special guests we have today. These are members of the UC's The Summer Program, our interns for the summer. We have one Mr. Corey Richardson from Churchland, if you could please stand. And we have Miss Davion Lewis from IC Norcom.
All right.
Thank you guys for taking this opportunity to enrich yourselves by learning more about your city. You have some amazing professionals that you're working with each day. So just ask questions, take it all in, and you'll be better for it. Whether you choose to have a future in planning, we could always use some more homegrown planners here, or you find something else within the city or outside that you learned from through this process. We just applaud you all for taking this opportunity, because you have a lot of peers who are sitting at home playing 2K right now. So we appreciate you all doing what you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Secretary, I believe that concludes our agenda for today.
That is correct.
Commissioners, is there any additional business?
No.
Dr. Russell, is there any additional business? Thank you. Hearing none, this meeting is now adjourned.